Hi, Stampin' Peace friends. Welcome to my studio. I'm Mary Knabe, and it is Friday, July 25th. I'm coming to you on a Friday because I kind of overextended myself yesterday, so switched up. My Facebook Live was the easiest thing for me to switch up and move to today. So I hope you've had a great week. Mine has been good. Very productive, getting lots of walking in as well, and just trying to stay cool and beat the heat. So today, well, I'll tell you, while we're waiting for other people to jump on, I'm just going to show you what we did in my last Facebook Live. I used the Glass and Gardens, one of the Glass and Gardens embossing folders to emboss a piece of Blackberry Bliss two-tone cardstock on the light side. And then I sanded that light side to expose the white core of the two-tone cardstock. So an easy, very, very fun technique, and just a really cool way to use our wonderful two-tone cardstock. Today we're going to talk about casing, what it is and how to do it. So I'm going to flip my camera around now, and while I do that, would you please share this live video and invite others to join us today on this wonderful July 25th. Some people call this the true Christmas in July, July 25th. All right, let me flip my camera now. So as we begin, let me pull this up on my computer so I can see you all. Make sure I'm in the right place. Yes, yes, yes. And now I can watch your comments as well. Okay, so as we begin today, let's go ahead and define what it means to case cards or case projects, C-A-S-E. Stampin' Up! Has defined case as being copy and share everything, and others have put a little twist on that, maybe copy and selectively edit. You may have heard of other things, but I just like to think of copy and share everything. At times people have said to me, oh, I stole your card idea, or I took this idea from so-and-so. Let me first begin by saying you are not stealing, you are not taking anything. If somebody, whether it be myself or somebody else, is putting their cards or projects out there in the wonderful world of the internet, I like to think it's there to share and to allow people to use that idea and take inspiration from those projects. So you will never ever offend me if you're casing one of my cards. And I rarely see anything about that amongst Stampin' Up! Demonstrators. The occasional, yes. I will say if you're posting or if you're a demonstrator and doing this in class, or you're making a set of cards that you are copying directly from somebody, it's nice to give them a shout out. It's nice to give them credit, okay? For example, I just made this beautiful card and I cased it from Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Margaret Rika, something like that, okay? It's just a polite thing to do, to give credit. Now, casing does not mean you have to copy somebody's card or project exactly. You have the freedom to put your own twist on it, to create as you want. okay? It doesn't have to look the same. Casing can simply be pulling inspiration from somebody's cards. So let me begin with this card. I was making some cards recently with the Painterly Pears designer series paper. You know how I love designer series paper, right? It's no secret. But I made this and I thought, wow, that was quick. It was simple. I love the way it's showing off 3 of the DSP patterns in that pack. I need to make more. And instead of making just more of the very same thing, I decided that I would make some cards with other DSPs and stamp sets. And so I'm going to case this card of mine, of my own, but you'll see the process for casing, and you'll see how even though you cased a card, it can come out completely different. And here's an example of another one I made. So basically I used 3 pieces of DSP. These are from the Mixed Media Florals DSP pack. And I used the Coordinating Mixed Labels bundle for the sentiment. I have this little die cut piece that I'm using as an embellishment, whereas the first one I used low profile sparkle dots, I think they're called. And the cards look completely different, even though I use the same layout. The shape of the sentiment is even different. So that's an idea of casing. So now let's take it a little further. I pulled out the Floral Charms designer series paper. So let me just show you this really quick because it's very pretty. So here's one side of these 3, and then let's flip it over. In this pack of DSP, my first thought was, wow, we have these cool summer colors and florals. Here's the back side. Nice subtle prints on the back. But then the DSP takes us into fall, okay, and changes up the color scheme a little bit. So I'm going to be using these DSPs to case my original Painterly Pears card. So I'm going to set this right here just so you can see it and refer to it. And I think I'm going to start with these summery prints. And the first thing I'm going to do is pick something for my circle. Now keep in mind, you don't have to use a circle. For this demonstration, I am. But you could use any of our die shapes. You could use a square. You could even just cut a square and not die cut. You could cut a rectangle. It can be any shape you want. So I think I'll use this, okay, for my circle. And then I've got these prints. Now, this one's pretty busy, so I want to pick something a little more subtle for the background and my strip across here, okay? So I think, let's see, I'm going to use this one. And the Berry Burst kind of has that watercolor berry burst look to it. And I'm going to cut this at, whoops, needs to be 5 1/4. 5 1/4 by 4 inches. So this will be that background layer. That's the florals on the white here. And then I need another piece, some kind of strip. It can be the very same size strip, or I can change up the measurements. So I've got this to use. That's okay, but I think I'm going to like the Blackberry Bliss side a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a strip. This is 5 1/4 by 1 1/2. And I am, for the purposes of this demonstration, I am going to, whoops. Let me turn it this way so you can see. This is the pattern I'm using for the strip. This Blackberry Bliss with a subtle leafy, kind of viney image on it. So 1 1/2 inches by 5 1/4. Okay. I'll just lay that on there. And then I know that I want to use some of this for my circle or my square, your hexagon, whatever shape you choose to use there. All right. I think I'm going to go with this just because I get multiple colors. Maybe over here. I'll do this. So for the sake of time, I'm just going to use my snips and do this, and then die cut my circle. And then we'll put our card together. And this die will fit into my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So I'll just grab that. I like these DSPs that are just loaded with images, like this one in particular, the florals and the leaves. So many great choices of where you can lay your die or where you can cut your rectangle or your square. And I think for this card, what would you suggest for a card base? I know what I'm thinking. Anybody else thinking Blackberry Bliss for the card base? And I think I already have one cut. I do. I always score and cut a full piece of 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock, even if I'm only making one card base or if I only need one card base. The reason being, it's just as easy to score once and cut once and get 2 card bases. And then the extra one goes in my stash right beside me. And I've put white on the inside, 5 1/4 by 4 inches. I'll start by, whoops, adding my background layer. I love the papers that have sort of that watercolor wash look to it because it just adds some dimension, some more interest with the color variations, that sort of thing. And then I'm going to add this strip of the Blackberry Bliss DSP. Again, these are from the, make sure I get the name right, Floral Charm Designer Series paper pack. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add my circle with some dimensionals. This is a great way, if you love designer series paper like I do, not only is this a great example of casing, it's also a great example of how you can showcase multiple designer series papers, whether they all come from the paper pack, same paper pack, or if you're mixing and matching from other paper packs. And then let's add a sentiment. Oh, I like all these. This is one I say a lot. You made my day. Oh, thanks. You made my day. how about, I'm going to do Thanks for Being You. And I haven't even put all these labels on, but that's okay. And this is going to be real simple. Thanks for being you. Let me grab a block here. I need to get out more of my small blocks. Seems like I've been using more of the small ones lately. And I'm going to grab Blackberry Bliss ink and a scrap of white. Ink that up, tap, 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 and a light press. Blackberry Bliss almost always looks black when you first stamp it. Same with Secret Sea, but some of those really dark colors will appear almost black or nearly black, but as they dry, it lightens up a little bit. And then I'm going to, let me find my punch. I'm going to stamp this, or punch this, with one of my circle punches. So again here, for my DSP pieces, I use the very same as on my cased card. But here I'm changing things up by adding my sentiment on a circle. I can step it up a little bit more even with stamping Blackberry Bliss cardstock circle a little bit larger size. So these are 1.5 and 1 3/4 inch. But again, you're going to use punches or dies or cut your cardstock for your sentiments to accommodate whatever size or shape you need for that sentiment. Oftentimes people will say to me, oh, I love this card, but I don't have that stamp set, or I don't have that paper. Well, this lesson encasing takes care of that. I'm showing how you can basically use that layout using your own products, right? And that's very important. Of course, I love to sell Stampin' Up! Product, but my first concern or my first priority for all of you is that we keep stamping, we keep creating, we keep sharing what we're doing. And sometimes that means we just work with what we have, right? There's no point in collecting stuff and never using it. So use what you have. If you see a card sketch you really like, or a color combination you really like, something like that, case it with products that you have. And if you still want to buy the products on that original card you saw, by all means do that. But never feel the pressure to purchase something just to case a single card or a single project, right? Makes sense. Waste not, want not. Okay. And then let's add some embellishments. And I have some different thoughts here. So let me see what I can pull out. These are supposed to be Blackberry Bliss. I don't think they are quite, but I do like that one. I think we'll use this one. I could have chosen to add a bow instead of embellishments, or maybe some kind of die cut piece. Just whatever floats your boat. Give it a try, and never be afraid to try different embellishments. You can always hold them up. Our embellishments come on this clear, a clear sheet. So you can even see what those look like against your papers. Let me put this back. So again, another cased card, okay? Completely different. Now let's make one more. Again, casing the original. And this time I'm going to use the papers that are more of what I think of as more fall colors, okay? So I know for sure that I want to use this one for that focus shape, that focus piece, okay? So now let's see. Oh, this looks nice with it. What else? I'm not a big fan of oranges. Of orange, I should say, the color orange. At times I like it, and that's okay. Do you guys like that? This would be the background. This would be the strip. This would be my focal shape. Or do you think this is better for that focal shape? Or it could be these three. Do you see how any of these would work? It's just a matter of you choosing what feels good to you, okay? So I'm going to die cut a shape from this, and I'll use this as my strip, and I'll go ahead and use this as my background. Actually, let's take a vote, or let's see what your opinions are. Would you use this, I think it's Mossy Meadow. It's either Mossy Meadow or Old. Yes, it's Mossy Meadow background, or would you use the Pretty Peacock background? This is the focal shape. This is the strip, right? And then which for the big 5 1/4 by 4 inch background? Nancy James is saying orange with the Mossy Meadow. You know what, Nancy? You're the first one, so I'd say let's go with that one. Okay. And then somebody else said the green floral, which I think she means the Pretty Peacock. So there you go. We all have different opinions. And any of those would work. Any of those would work. If something looks good to you and you feel good about it, it's okay. You don't have to ask, is this the better color or is this the better color? It can be whatever you want it to be. Now, for this, I am going to do something a little bit different in that I'm going to take this cased card and make it a vertical card, okay? So instead of horizontal, I'm casing the overall layout, but I'm going to turn it into a vertical card. So, and the reason I say at this point is that I'm going to change up the orientation is that if you are using DSP that is directional, this is where you need to pay attention to that, okay? And I'm gonna do a 1 1/2 inch strip. Again, it doesn't have to be the same width. So I'm doing 1 1/2 by 5 1/4. And we'll talk about this before I put all the pieces together. And then here, should I stick with the circle or should I change up the shape? Oops. I could make it a square shape. Let's do that just as a reminder that it's okay for us to change up the sizes and the shapes when we're casing as well. And let's see, where do I want? Usually just try to pick something around the edge. But I kind of like to move my, oh, that's good. I kind of like to move my die around to see how it looks, how the shape would look in different places of the DSP. Make sense? I think you get what I'm saying. How many of you have ever looked at a card? You know, there's so many places where we can find card ideas, right? Pinterest, blogs, YouTube, Facebooks, TikTok, maybe in somebody's newsletter, all kinds of places. But have you ever looked at a card and thought, oh, I want to case that? But you moved on because you didn't have the exact same products? How many of you have done that? If anybody says they haven't, I'm not sure I can believe you. I know it's something I've done, especially when I was a beginner stamper, beginner card maker, beginner crafter, paper crafter, until somebody told me, use what you have, right? Use what you have. Okay, so now here's my original card. I could change up the orientation and go this way with my strip and put my focal shape there. But I'm going to keep my long strip and I'm going to move it fairly close to the left side. Okay. I could put it right in the middle, just like that. This would also work this way. Do you see how like I can move these pieces around? And I can also change the orientation. So always think about that when you're creating. Lay your pieces out and move them around a bit. Okay. I could go this way, put it on the right side, but I'm going to go on the left side with it. Here I left probably about 3/4 of an inch of the background DSP showing. On this card, I'm going to leave a much smaller edge of that background DSP showing. Also keep in mind, I have chosen for the 2 cards you are watching me make in this video, I have chosen designer series papers from the same paper pack. You do not have to use the same paper pack. You could mix and match from multiple paper packs if you want. Oh, here's an idea too. I could change it this way. But I think I'm going to go like this. Okay. And then I believe this is a 1-inch strip. It is. And I'm going to stamp the sentiment, happy birthday. Oh, you know what I could do? Oh, this is even better. This is even better. I'm going to use one of the other stylish shape dies to cut that out. So I'll need a little bit wider piece, looks like. Okay. Yes. Always need happy birthday cards. And I think for this, I'm going to stamp in, I think I'll stamp in early espresso, because that's what I'm seeing here in that brown. Could be mossy meadow, could be any of these colors that you stamp with. Joan, I've never heard it said that way, but your art teacher was making perfect sense. What she was saying to you is, it doesn't have to look like everybody else's. Put your own spin on it. And I think that's a great message. Can be hard to follow. I truly get that. Truly get that. I'm human too. But I like that she told the students that. So let me die cut my sentiments. Is this demonstration helping you to think of different ways that you can case cards? Does it make it a little bit easier? Does it make it easier for you to justify using a shared layout or a shared card? Doris, I hear that from people often. You don't have the creative talent, but you know what? Think about this. Gwen says too, Gwen, you're not creative? Oh no, you are. You are. Think about this. If you are searching the internet and you come across an idea and you're like, oh, I love that, I'm going to make it too. You know what that tells me? You are able to pick out awesome things. You are able to pick out good ideas, and that does show a level of creativity. And quite honestly, the more we do what we do, the more creative we get. You can't get less creative. You can only get more creative. And each of these ideas that you borrow or share or case helps us become more and more creative. Trust me, I used to do a lot more casing than what I do now. And after I got beyond the casing that I'll say I'm basically copying, and I had to get over that idea of, well, I don't have all the same things. I had to get past that. And I had to accept that it's okay to get inspiration from other people in the work they do, right? Makes sense, doesn't it? And then I realized at some point I would go searching for ideas, card ideas, whatever it may be. And I got in this habit of, I would look at an idea, I would see something I liked and I'd kind of study it, and then I'd close my computer and just start creating. So the sizes may or may not have been the same. Or I may have really remembered the color combination, and that was the main cased part of my card. It could have been the layout. But it's like I took inspiration, studied what I liked. When I say studied, I mean spent a few extra seconds on it, a minute on it. And then I would shut down the computer and get to work without looking back, because I knew that that would help me creating on my own. And then after doing this for almost 20 years, about 20 years I've been stamping. 18 years next month that I've been a demonstrator. That sounds like a long, long time. But anyways, I felt like I reached a point where I would just be able to come up with ideas on my own, just having made so many cards and thinking about different ideas. Okay, my intention was to put this on Mossy Meadow, but after I stamped with the early espresso, I thought, no, I love the early espresso, bringing in a whole nother color to this card. And you know, if you're not feeling creative or not confident, you are in the right place. We are all here together, and I don't have all the answers. I don't know it all. I don't have all the ideas. So oftentimes I'm reading your comments or listening to things that people are saying, and I'm picking up tips, or somebody might introduce a color to the combination that I would not have thought of. So I'm always learning too. And as long as we are open to learning and growing and sharing, we'll always just get more and more and more creative. It's a wonderful thing. And you're in a safe community, whether you're a beginner or you're a seasoned stamper, whether you started yesterday or 100 years ago, it's all good. I always tell my team that too. We all have something to give, and we all have something to learn. We all have something to share, and we all have something we can grow from. So think of it that way. The other thing is, and I just had this conversation yesterday with a woman named Brenda Sturr that I'm doing. She's my social media coach, basically, helping me grow my business, that sort of thing. And we got to talking about how people don't feel confident in their creativity. And I said to her, it really is my belief that everybody is creative in some way. My sister has no interest in doing what I'm doing, and she doesn't think of herself as creative. But boy, you should see her put a flower arrangement together from the same grocery store flowers that I buy, and hers look amazing. Or she can cook. She can just look at what's in her refrigerator and pantry and put a great dinner together. Oh, so not me. And I also don't have the desire to do it like she does. My daughter Andrea has started as like a, I don't know what you call it, like a TikTok video influencer kind of thing. And companies send her products, free merchandise, and then she does videos on them. She makes lots of videos of Riley as well, right? 2-year-old toddler. There's always so much going on. And I have found her to be very creative in that way. So please don't tell me you're not creative, because I know that you are. I truly know that you are. Okay. And I don't say anything I don't mean. Okay. So when I say I believe everybody's creative in their own way, I do mean that. And if you don't feel creative in the paper crafting world, that's why I'm here. So ask me anything. Request demonstrations. Tell me you want to learn a new technique, whatever it is. I'm here to help you and coach you through this paper crafting journey, and we do it together, right? Okay, so here is that original card I made that I said I just liked the layout so much that I wanted to create more of them. So then I went ahead and made this one. So I started with the Painterly Pears DSP. I moved to the Mixed Media Florals DSP. And then today I've used the, what did I say it was called? Floral Charm DSP to make 2 other cased cards. And you can see they all turn out very differently, and especially these last 2. The layout resembles my original, correct? But at first glance, I don't think anybody would be like, oh, she just copied the first card, because they can appreciate the differences in each of them. Okay? Who now feels a little bit better about, number 1, it's okay to case. It's okay to get project ideas and inspiration from other people. And how many of you also feel a little more confident in being able to change up the cards, change up the elements of the cards and projects you intend to case using your own products, switching out colors, rearranging the pieces perhaps, or using different sizes or shapes. Okay, that's the whole goal of this demonstration, to make you feel comfortable, number one, drawing inspiration from others. I get it. We don't always feel creative. My son-in-law is painting my bedroom this weekend. I want to do an accent wall and 3 other walls in the bathroom, this one other color. Do you know how long it took me to pick those 2 darn colors? Because I had to hold it up to everything. Then I had to hold it up to the headboard. How did it look with that? Or, like if I'm making a wreath, it takes me much longer. Why? Because I don't do it every day. But when I get that finished wreath, I'm like, wow, you did this, Mary. Hang it on your front door. And I feel good about it, right? Margaret, you're saying you're more confident also. Good. Yes, Beth, we're all unique in our own ways. And, when I was a very young school teacher, my first job, first class, my mentor said to me, I'm going to give you one piece of advice, Mary. If you want to be a really great teacher, you will be willing to share. And I thought, what exactly does he mean by that? And of course, before I could ask, he went on to explain. Teachers who share their thoughts, their ideas, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, become better teachers because they're focused on learning and growing. And I think that's true of everything in life, even our craft that we love so much. Teresa, yes. Different styles, absolutely. Absolutely. We all have different styles. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Okay, if you would like to have your name put into the drawing, this is going to be hard for me to give these 2 cards away, people. You know why? Because I started with my sample. I cased 1 card on my own, and then I thought I'm just going to work through the casing process with you all. The only thing I did was decide the paper pack I'm using. So I don't have samples of these 2, so it's going to be hard for me to give away, but I'm doing it. So if you are interested in having your name put into the drawing to receive one of these 2 cards, please type in the comments now. I have to make sure I get this right because Floral Charm. That is the name of the designer series paper I used here. One other thing I wanted to mention. Does anybody make like a lot of fall cards? Or what else? Birthday cards, Christmas cards, things you make a lot of. You could make the very same card and be switching out the different DSPs. And if you did that, boy, would you be getting your money's worth on a pack of designer series paper, right? You can make them, and you can see how, I could have made this exact same card layout in these different colors and these different patterns. And it's a completely different card. I could have chosen another set or 2 of 2 or 3 designer series papers to work together and repeat that layout and have other new cards as well, other different unique cards. So if you're somebody that needs to make a lot of cards at once, but you don't want them all the same, designer series paper can help you with that. Okay? Just another reason why I love designer series paper so much. You've been around, right? If you've been around me, you know that it is my go-to product when I start designing. I just love pretty paper. It's like fabric. When I sew, I'm like, I love looking at pretty fabric. Okay, everybody, have a great weekend. And I hope you've gained confidence and inspiration from this demonstration and explanation and discussion of casing. I look forward to seeing you next week. And hopefully by then my bedroom will be painted, and I'll have to show you a picture of that with the new colors. Can you guess what the colors would be? They're not Stampin' Up! Colors, although I suppose I could find Stampin' Up! Colors to go with it. But just, what's your guess? Okay, what's your guess as far as colors I've chosen? All right, have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.